Everything you said is kind of leading to the answer, but so the race is on because the powers that be for years have had the advantage because A, there wasn't a lot of information in the 20s to the 60s and 70s. When the information, when the internet hit, free speech became available, all of a sudden things started to happen. The GMOs became more of an issue, so they're trying to keep us distracted.
Sure.
And we're trying to get the information going through. So at some point, I mean, how does that race play out? Because the people that want to keep the power are going to try to keep that power, all the different ways that they have to manipulate us relative to how do we keep the information flow going.
Yeah, the question that I need to repeat for the camera is, you know, the ETs play a role in the fact that these very powerful interests that have manipulated human opinion and what have you are involved in a lot of what we call bread and circus distractions, and will at some point the extraterrestrial civilizations play a role in that kind of information and psychological warfare race. And I would say yes, and to the extent that, for example, we just got a report from someone who was a security officer where one of these objects had materialized very, very close to him. It was in Washington State or Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. And I think that a lot of times the way that the ETs have appeared have been ways that let enough people know we're not alone, but not too much to kind of hit that invisible wire that's there where people who would like to make hay an alien invasion week on the History Channel would say, hey, it's an alien invasion. So they're having to play this very carefully. But at the same time, there are so many people who have seen, like with the Phoenix Lights, and the governor finally coming clean and saying, yes, I saw it too, and it was real. This huge 2-3 foot across craft that floated over the valley. And I was there the night that happened. Some of you may know that. It was actually a CE5. I had just done the protocols to invite them to come because we were putting together the digital images of UFOs to give to Congress a month later. And so that is actually how the Phoenix Lights happened. It happened right above us. And so it was a CE5. And for a purpose, though. It wasn't trivial because they knew we were putting this thing together with all these members of Congress in '97. So that event happened in March. Our briefing was in April of '97 here in Washington, in Georgetown. And I asked them to do something that would advance that. Now, interesting, the news blacked out until June on it. It really wasn't covered outside the Phoenix area until June. And it got broken to the national news eventually. But then it was, of course, explained away as flares and this and that, because they always create a cover story. So after this event happened, they sent jets up that did drop flares and filmed that and say, see, that's what this was. But people who were actually up close to it, I mean, it's this massive structure that blacked out the stars as it went over, if they were right underneath it, and it was miles across. And the jets that we sent up, when they got close to it, just went back to base. I mean, they were like, right? Well, we know that from some pilots at Luke Air Force Base out there. And so I think that the ETs want to advance the knowledge that we're not alone, but they don't want to do it in a way that is intimidating. Because I think ultimately they're incredibly evolved in consciousness and very nonviolent. So they don't want to do anything that would be psychologically violent or spiritually violent. And that's why it's best if this education comes from us to each other. See what I'm saying? To answer your question, as opposed from on high down. Because that could be something that could be taken very much the wrong way. And I think that's right. People get mad. Why are they so secretive? And why don't they just land on the White House lawn? And actually, Larry King asked me that question. And I go, look, I think they're wiser than to pull a stunt like that. And also, I think that they really do think that there's something edifying about us tackling this issue, including this national security superstate that's run amok, because someone needs to rein that in. And it's unlikely to be the politicians, it's going to have to be the people. And we, the people, need to do it. Now, that takes some degree of resolve and courage, and you have to do something besides, you know, laying on your couch, surfing through television channels, looking at late night TV and eating Cheetos. You know, I mean, that's part of the problem of the whole bread and circus culture that's grown up in our culture, society in the last few decades, is that there are so many distractions and there's so much ephemera and nonsense that it's easy to keep people entertained with that and looking in another direction, while these really important issues are really not being addressed. And I think that to an extent is by design, but it's also our responsibility to take our own minds and say, we're going to pay attention to these important things. And luckily, there are millions of people are looking into all this. What I hope this next level of what we're doing, we have literally tens of thousands of people, by the way, now, around the world that have gotten the training app and for contact, and now are getting the networking app so they can be in touch with each other, because we didn't have it until just last week. And that is happening very large, very big, sort of exponential growth in contact teams all over the world. A disclosure, as I mentioned, I think not that we've finished that task, but we've launched it, and more people believe this is real than don't. But the technology part of it, that has been the thing that's been the hardest for me over the last decade, as I went through the litany of all the kind of tricks and this and that and all the disappointments. But we have to keep doing that, because we're really at a point in our society where there aren't going to be any sort of temporary fixes that are going to work. You know, I mean, it's great to have solar panels, and I have my farm in Virginia has a big 10 kilowatt solar farm that we've generated almost 5 megawatt hours of electricity, but most people wouldn't be able to put that in. And it's great. You know, we have a Chevy Volt that you can plug in, and it can run off the solar panels, and it goes 40 miles. But you want to drive 100 miles, you're using gas. So we have these partial fixes that are coming out. We need the next level of it. And that's where we're going to need a lot of support in either fundraising or someone who can come to us and claim this challenge, an award of $100,000, which, I mean, I wish it were 100 million, but that's what we can put at stake. And if people can meet the criteria, it'd make us all a very happy group. And I think we'll let the public know the instant we have something legitimate. That's for sure. We will not sit on it. There will be nothing secret about it.